Who was William Cooper Nell? Well, he was a black transcendentalist and elevationist, abolitionist, publisher, and deacon of a famous Unitarian church in the mid-1800s. As always, find out more in this episode of 3 Minutes in UU History. When we think about the Transcendentalists, the names of Fuller, Emerson, Thoreau, or even Thomas Starr King may come to mind first. But outside of these founding luminaries, there were a whole bunch of people doing the work of bringing direct experience of the divine to the masses. This brings us to William Cooper Nell. Born in 1816, William Nell was active in anti-oppressive work from a young age. Protesting school segregation at the age of 13 after failing to receive a prestigious academic award because he was black, he finally succeeded at this years later, and that'd be desegregation, not winning that award, by working with the plaintiffs in the case of Roberts versus City of Boston, and then convincing Massachusetts legislature to pass the nation's first anti-school segregation law in 1855. This was the beginning of the fight that finally led to Brown versus Board of Education in 1954, nearly 100 years later. Much of this ethic of justice came from Nell's father, who was active in the early abolition movement in Massachusetts. And the younger Nell was so against segregation that he later disbanded the Black abolitionist organization his father had founded, the Massachusetts General Colored Association, in favor of blacks and whites working together within the abolition movement. He also protested against the Buffalo National Negro Convention, another black abolitionist organization, in his quest for desegregation. And because people are complicated, he founded the New England Freedom Association, an all-black abolitionist group that assisted fugitive slaves. So what does all of this have to do with Unitarian or Universalist history? Two things primarily. First, William Nell was one of the Transcendentalists. Well, not a founder of the movement, he was in fact just as much a Transcendentalist as Thomas Starr King or Theodore Parker. Well, he primarily engaged with the Transcendentalists with an aim to further the elevation movement. He was clearly engaged with the spiritual concepts espoused by Emerson and Fuller. More on this in a moment. Second, William Nell was a deacon in Theodore Parker's Unitarian Church. Not just a guest speaker, not just a member, but an actual deacon. And yes, when I say Theodore Parker, I mean the one who brought us the Arc of the Moral Universe, immortalized by Reverend King, President Obama, and President Lincoln. It's hard to find mention of Black, Indigenous, or other people of color within the earlier history of Unitarianism or Universalism. And in a modern context, we may say things like, Dr. King was almost a UU, but to find William C. Nell, who is just as much a founder of modern Unitarianism via Transcendentalism's centering of the divine spark within ourselves, is, well, enlightening, perhaps more indicative of the centering of white culture within our faith. For a time, Nell was publisher of Frederick Douglass's newspaper, The North Star. It is within the pages published the week of April 7th, 1848, that we find the following Transcendentalist words written by William Cooper Nell. Religion teaches us to recognize God in all things. Every moment of our lives, we are in the temple of the Creator, for the whole of creation is that temple. The mountains that lift their heads above the clouds, the boundless ocean, the roar of whose waves chant from shore to shore, the countless tribes of plants and animals, all are manifestations of the power and display the greatness of that being who measures the waters of the universe in the hollow of their hand, who weighs the mountains in scales and the hills in a balance. And that, my friends, is today's piece of Transcendentalist, Abolitionist, Anti-Oppressive, Unitarian 3 Minutes in UU History. Thanks for watching. If you find our topics interesting, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and hit that alert button.